95.9 FM WEZC. And to read the latest local news on your electronic device, including tablets, iPhones, and smartphones, go to DeWittDailyNews.com. DeWitt County's #1 source for local news is on the air, online, 24 hours a day.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the morning show, Dan Matthews, is the DeWitt County Board Chair. Good morning, Dan. How are you today?
Good morning, Seth. I'm doing well.
Good to hear. Thanks for making time for us. It's good to have you. We follow up, of course, the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting. Kind of a lot to get to, Dan, here for this morning. And I guess we'll start with kind of the lead out of the board meeting last night. A lot of discussion. Of course, we had those severe storms from June the 29th roll through DeWitt County, and an issue with Alta Farms and Enel Green Power not curtailing their wind turbines during that event. Lay out for us the situation.
Yes, there has been a lot of conversation about that, and one of the commitments they made, and something that very much was the top concern of the community, was the curtailment of the wind farms. As we know, and the National Weather Service has stated, the wind farms do cause issues with radar, and we had a long discussion with Enel at the time, and they assured us that they could curtail the wind turbines during certain weather events, and we certainly feel that they had every opportunity to do that recently, and they failed to do so.
So, Dan, talk to us a little bit. One of the things that I thought the discussion was a little shorter, but I was curious, the aspect of there was a tornado warning and a thunderstorm warning. Now, does the agreement state that they have to curtail during a tornado and a thunderstorm warning, or is it just a tornado warning they have to curtail?
They do have to curtail during severe thunderstorm warnings and any other event that the National Weather Service may notify them about as well. So in this case, as you said, we briefly hit on that last night. Mr. Whitty said, he felt there was two events that happened on that day. Almost simultaneously, but certainly one right after the other. The severe thunderstorm warning first, and then the tornado warning, shortly after, or almost at the same time. So really, both of those events are things that should automatically lead to a curtailment. But I stated last night too, had the curtailment been done when the severe thunderstorm warning went off, it wouldn't have been really a second event in this case because it was so close together. I felt it was a, continuation of the event. But we should have seen curtailment with the severe thunderstorm warning. We did not.
Mm-hmm. Now, I thought there were excellent points brought up that, of course, this, Enel is a massive, massive company. So a $5,000 fine to them is like you and I putting a nickel in a bucket somewhere, and, it's no thing to them. But just the idea of accountability, Dan, speak to that a little bit further.
Yeah, I mean, the $5,000 was the agreed upon amount when the agreement was done per event. So, hopefully this is a one-time thing and we don't see it again. It was the first event. I'm really not going to give them an out on this because it was so important. And it hit right in the heart of people that have experienced this before, meaning a severe weather event that affected, Wapella. And they were hit hard by this one too. And, luckily there wasn't anyone hurt bad. But we hope out of this event and the conversations that Dee Dee has had with some people from Enel, that this won't happen again. But we have to see that. And they need to follow up with what they said they were going to do. There's been some additional conversation now between Enel and the National Weather Service. But whether the National Weather Service informs them or not, they have to be aware of the weather as well. And their commitment was when a severe thunderstorm warning was issued, they would act. and they did not. So we're hoping it doesn't happen again, but certainly we have an avenue to find them. And is it a big fine? No, not to them. But we have to be accountable and follow the agreement that was done. And so we're going to do that in cases where they fail to do what they said they're going to do.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned there something, Dan, I was curious about. Has Enel been contacted at all? Have we heard from them about, not necessarily what happened, but just maybe their take on the events that day that led to a lack of curtailment?
Dee Dee has been in contact with them, and she says my understanding is they admitted that we missed the boat here, and we have to go back and look at the procedure on their end, and anything else that they can work with National Weather Service, they're going to do. But again, we have to see that in action.
Yeah, sure. So $5,000, I know, for DeWitt County, it's probably not nearly as unsubstantial as it is for Enel, but that's just a small number for DeWitt County as well. Where does that money end up there, Dan?
The money will go into the general fund. So again, it's more about the accountability, I think, than the dollars. But I would have loved to see them step up and help the city of Wapella with some recovery as well. As being a good neighbor, good partner, and hopefully we'll see that in the future.
Sure. Dan Matthews, DeWitt County Board Chair, is our guest on the phone here for this morning. We follow up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting. Dan, let's talk a little bit about some other things going on from the meeting last night. Let's get to public safety, talk about some things with the animal shelter. We're going to see some extensions of the fencing at the animal shelter. What's going on here?
Yeah, Seth, as you and I have talked about, recently, we've seen an uptick in the amount of animals that have come to the shelter, abandoned animals. But the majority of the animals we get there are aggressive male dogs. So we need some options for Holly and Sage to be able to get those dogs out of the building, outside, in the runs, and not putting aggressive dogs together. So we want to add some additional runs so that we can maintain the one that we have. It's the main run that we have now is grass. Of course, it gets beaten up pretty good in the summertime with the weather fluctuations. So this is going to allow the staff out there to get more dogs out, to get more exercise, and to be able to do more cleaning and keep them safe and keep the animals in the best condition that they can.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you mentioned it, Dan, this is an issue that's kind of ongoing for the animal shelter. And you mentioned with us last month that, you were going to look at ways to improve the situation out there. Is this kind of a trial and see what happens? Will there be more to do in your mind? What do you think?
One other thing we're doing is, I don't know if I think you've probably been to the shelter, the indoor facility. Each individual pen stands on its own. We're putting some guillotine doors in between pens so that, again, Holly and Sage, our staff out there, can move some of these aggressive dogs from one pen to the other and not have to handle them so much or have to really move them in some of the building structure that's not real safe for them. So we're just going to keep making it safe for them and keep anticipating that our numbers are going to be high, and just keep improving the facility as much as we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Did when the budget was put together, Dan, was there kind of the anticipation of needing to address some of these things? What did that look like?
Really, it wasn't. We weren't seeing near the number of animals. I mean, we're seeing 2 to 3 times the amount of dogs and a lot of cats as well. So we're going to have to, we're getting ready to do budgeting. It's hard to believe we're doing that again already, but it starts here pretty quick in August. We are going to have to budget more dollars for the facility, medicine to properly medicate and take care of the animals that we bring in. That's obviously grown a lot with the number of animals. So luckily we have some contingency funds that we can use for things like this. Some of the donations that we do get some really nice donations. from the public. And so we've got to, our expenses gone up. We're going to have to budget more dollars to, properly take care of the animals.
Anything else on that topic, Dan?
No, I think that's all we've done so far, to date out there.
Yeah.
There may be additional things coming, but we did sign an agreement with U of I Vet Department, which helps us and helps cut costs for us and for the public. And they're a great partner of ours. So that's just a contract that Megan's been working on and got a 5-year agreement with them. So I think that's good for everyone involved.
Sure. Dan Matthews again, DeWitt County Board Chair, our guest on the phone here for this morning. We follow up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting. Dan, you went to executive session to talk a wage increase for I believe this is the Fraternal Order of Police, if I'm not mistaken. Talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, so the wage schedule increase that we did approve last night deals with the deputies, dispatch, and corrections. So all three, entities there in the sheriff's department. And we really did that for a couple of reasons. One, we want to retain the good people that we have in all three of those areas. But we also need to have a better recruiting, better story to tell new recruits that we're bringing on. We know that, City of Clinton recently increased the salaries for their staff. And we felt, to stay competitive, to give Sheriff Walker, a better, again, I say a story to tell, but a better package to offer both, new recruits and people we already have on staff today. So even though we're within a 4-year agreement, we've got 3 more years to go. So the increase, additional 1% coming next year, and the 2% the 2 following years, gives us a real nice increase in the package that we offered just a year ago. So, you're talking now, almost a 20% increase cumulative over the 4 years. So we hope that makes us more competitive and offers more to our staff that, we can retain the people that we have on staff, but also, we get people in. It costs, well over $50,000 to get a new deputy trained, outfitted. We certainly don't want to spend that money on a new deputy and then them go somewhere else. Now, we can't compete with some of the larger cities around us or the state police, but we have some new people coming on that are from our community, and so we want to make sure we can keep them, on board there in DeWitt County.
Yeah, for sure. So this was really an effort to just improve the quality of, the environment, I guess, for our current officers and attract new officers then.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Gotcha. Dan, I'll tell you what, let's take a time out here. We've got a lot more to get to. Some big discussion items we'll touch on next. Dan Matthews, DeWitt County Board Chair, our guest on the phone this morning. We follow up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting, and more of that discussion next on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now. The Chicago Board of Trade on this Friday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network. We start the day in the red with corn, beans, and wheat. September corn 532 down 5 1/4. December new crop down 6 1/4, 540, and March corn opening 550 1/4 down 7 1/4. August beans starting the day 1492 down 3. September beans down 7 1/4, 1419. November new crop 1393 1/4 down 11 1/2. September wheat on this Friday underway at 708 3/4 down 18 1/4. December wheat down 18, 728 1/4. March wheat 742 down 18 1/2. August bean meal 438.30 down 220, and August bean oil 68.09. That's up 45 cents. Opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Friday morning. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
Looking for a new Silverado? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. Yes, we finally have new Silverado inventory. We have Silverados in 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s with several trim levels. Custom, LT, RST, LTZ, and yes, high countries. This month, get an extra down payment assistance on all Silverados. Baum Chevrolet Buick. We have inventory. BombChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Dave Jackson here, owner of your Save-A-Lot store in downtown Clinton, here to talk to you about our low prices. Our formula is simple. Because of Save-A-Lot's buying power and only carrying the items you use most often, we can save you and your family a ton of money. How much money? The math is simple. $100 to $200 weekly spent elsewhere could mean $2,000 to $4,000 or more in your pocket yearly. Real savings, really fresh, really great people. At your Clinton Save-A-Lot. Hope to see you soon.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, and good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. My guest again on the phone today, Dan Matthews, is the DeWitt County Board Chair. And Dan, I was talking to you in the break there, and I didn't mean to put you on hold abruptly in the middle of our conversation, so I apologize for that. But at any rate, let's, Dan, continue our conversation following up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting. And so a new generator for the county building. And I'm wondering, Dan, if some of this also stems from that June 29th storm that we had and maybe some of the issues with the generator at that time. Speak to this a little bit.
Yeah, that's certainly where this came from, Seth. That event, we had problems with the generator that we've had since 1986, I believe, is when that was installed in the building. So we've got our 30-some years use out of that generator. But one of the things that Mr. Ferguson talked about was, in 1986, when an event happens, or, we are an emergency operations center there at the county building, a designated center for emergencies. There wasn't 30, 40 laptops and 30 or 40 cell phones running at the same time in the building, along with the telephones, which are, running off of a network, not off a traditional POTS line, things like that, there's a lot more requirement for electricity. And so we need to move to a generator that is going to not only allow us enough power for Micah's office, for the emergency operations center, but really the rest of the building. We had to close, the county building down for a couple of days because of the power outage. So we want to pursue a generator solution that will power that whole, part of the county building and not jeopardize communications or anything like that. So, we didn't mention a specific amount last night, but just kind of preliminary that, that's probably going to be $100,000 to $125,000 purchase.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping to get some grant money potentially from emergency management to help pay for that. Being an EOC designated center, we're hoping that, potentially the power plant might be able to help us out or find ways to find funds for that as well. But what we wanted to do last night at a minimum, if we have to do it all on our own, was to prove some of the ARPA funds that we had before. And that's, this is a perfect use for those funds.
That made me wonder, Dan, is there still unused ARPA funds, undesignated ARPA funds? What's the status of those dollars that you're able to pull that from?
There is still dollars that we haven't completely assigned to projects. One of those, as we mentioned last night too, we're still waiting on bids for the new roof for the sheriff's and the building and the jail, which we anticipate. We have budgeted some money for that in this year's budget, and next year we'll be able to put some dollars. But with that project and with this generator, that will pretty much use up everything that we had left, not assigned any particular project.
Gotcha. Very good. Very good. Also, more kind of on the county building itself, roof bids. You didn't get any. That's surprising.
Well, we thought it was surprising, but it didn't get posted the way it should have been posted. So it was more about, it wasn't that people didn't want to do it. The message just didn't get out to the proper bidders. So we're definitely, we remedied that, and that will we will get bids this next month. For sure.
Gotcha. Very good. Dan, let's continue on the conversation. And as we talk, let's talk about the Revere Road project and some inspection contracts approved last night for that. Speak to that a little bit.
So I think this is just another part of the process for a major project like that. This is about testing of the road as we move along. There's a certain, requirements to make sure that it's being built to spec and everything like this. So conversation with Mark afterwards, this is just a common thing that kind of happens in the process of doing a project like this. So we had to approve, additional funds that come out of his funding to make sure that this was paid for. And I think Mark thinks the amount that we approved last night will end up being less overall once the project moves along.
Sure, very good. And that work is already underway, and starting to look very nice. That's going to be a tremendous improvement once it is all finished and complete. And Dan, let's finish up the conversation today and talking about it, getting an update, I guess, here from you about the sale of the marina. This, of course, has been something on your radar since you took over as the chairperson of the board. So, what's the latest with this effort?
So last month I mentioned that we had received a letter from DNR that they had possible interest in buying the marina, or at least putting in a proposal to purchase the marina. And then just last week we got an official letter from them that they will be providing a proposal. They're doing the title work and doing their own appraisal for the marina property. But we've also heard from 5 or 6 other companies or individuals that also have interest. So to me, that's all really good news. We are going to try to wrap that all up by the end of November with proposals. So with that number of people that are interested, and I think really the strength of the people that we've talked to or have asked questions about it is, it's only going to mean better facilities, more amenities, possibility of, could be campgrounds, more boat rentals, a lot of good ideas that are just going to add to the marina in the future.
Yeah, for sure. DNR, Dan, we've got about a minute left here with you. DNR has been the most talked about, it feels like, or at least the most public in this process that we've seen the last month or 6 weeks here. How about, I know like that would be maybe ideal for the county. But, talk about evaluating the best possible solution for the county when you know that DNR is interested and, just how, I guess what that process will look like come November. How about that?
Right. So a lot of the discussion with people on the board, with the community is, we want someone to come in there that has experience with marinas, campgrounds, similar type facilities. So when you say DNR, yes, I think DNR, I think Muscooten, we have Muscooten right in our backyard. We have Welton Springs,
sure,
great facilities that DNR is involved with.
Yeah.
DNR owns everything on the lake but the marina. But we also have other marina operators who are interested.
Dan, so, I don't mean to do this to you, sir. I gotta cut us off. Dan Matthews, DeWitt County Board Chair, our guest. Network News is now.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM W222 BG Clinton, 106.5 FM W293 DJ Normal Bloomington.
For next May for former President Donald Trump in a case charging him with illegally retaining classified